I said like 3, 2.
Boys, how we doing? What's going on tonight? So good to see my crew is here alive and well. Unfortunately, tonight we don't have Matt Shapter. We don't have Darren Stevenson. I was hoping DJ was going to jump in, but you know what? We've got Tony, we've got Curtis, we've got Gabriel. We're ready to roll on episode 3 of Boba Fett. Fett fam is in the house and ready to roll on episode 3. Okay, what was the vibe like? Episode 3. Set the stage here, Curtis. What were you thinking as the episode began and we see the spider with the brain bowl coming across?
Yes. So it reminded me of the spider that came across in Return of the Jedi when the gate opened.
Same
and
thing,
the spider
right?
Came.
Same.
Totally.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Gabriel.
So when I saw that, I thought we were totally in for like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. This is going to happen. I'm really excited. And then from there, and there was another shot of the creature outside the Jabba's palace. I'm sorry, not Jabba, Boba Fett's palace, where there was a creature outside and something flew up and a bat came down and grabbed it, but then something else snatched it. I was like, man, if they're paying this much attention to the detail for that, this is going to be awesome. So I was hooked from the very, very beginning.
Yes, those two shots, particularly calling back to Return of the Jedi, right? The first shot with that spider in the bowl. Gabriel, do you have any insight as to what kind of creature that is?
Yes, I do. So those are called the Bomar Monts, and what those are is those were originally humans who desired to have enlightenment. And due to doing so, they believed that the best way to receive that was to put their brains into these little spider droids, and that that would, I guess, make them smarter. And
man, were they wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Wandering endlessly through the desert in a fish tank as a brain on a spider droid. What a life. That's true enlightenment, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one that's off base. But I thought that was kind of cool to start off with that homage to Return of the Jedi. And then, Curtis, to your point about whatever that frog creature, we did see a scene exactly like that in Return of the Jedi as a transition scene where whatever that frog creature, what is that? Do you know what that's called? A warg? Warg?
I think it's a wart or like a mort. No, I don't know that name.
Anyway, he's obviously a creature that runs around. You know, I was thinking about, is that the same kind of creature that came burrowing out of the sand in episode 2 where the sand people all kind of jumped on it and they shot it? Is the same type of creature?
That's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So we see that homage to Return of the Jedi where he just, grabs a bat that's flying by and just ate the food chain of Tatooine out on display. Okay, and then we go inside the palace and we got 8D8 standing around the map. Tony, what did you think about the holographic breakdown of the territory that's at play here?
You actually just said it best. The who eats who of Tatooine. You get that. I think that's what that scene is meant to be. Whatever the frog thing is, and it eats the smaller with the and now you kind of go in and you get this sort of splayed out, and then the understanding of it in that political climate, who eats who.
Yes, and you got the Transdoshans running the city center. And you got the Aqualish, right? Those are the Walrus Men guys that are running the workers region, right?
Yes, yes, very good. Yeah.
I don't remember who was up on there's like an outer rim that commands the spaceport.
Though those were called, I'm pretty sure those were called the Clatoonians, and they ran the upper sprawl.
Are the Clatoonians the same kind of creature that is in the biker gang?
No, but we have seen the Clatoonians before in the Mandalorian season 1. Those were those like kind of dog-like creatures that attacked that village in that one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm a little unclear on those guys. I guess we'll probably see more of them in the episodes to come. So he's breaking down the map. 8D8 is basically like, it looks like everyone's waiting to see how you're going to rule.
Yeah, let me stop you for a second, Michael. That was a great line. And it real like if we could all stop for a second in our lives and think about that. 8D8 said, everyone's waiting to see what kind of leader you will be. And that really just kind of like struck me because they're thinking, Boba, you just showed up. The world, the city, the landscape, waiting to see who you are going to be. And I thought, man, that's motivational for like all of us, like everybody on this call, everybody's watching this podcast. Everyone is waiting to see what kind of leader you will be. That was really cool. I like that line.
Yeah, and I think in a way it was a call to action for Boba Fett, because the very next thing that happens is the watermonger comes in, right? The watermonger comes in. I've seen this actor before. I like that guy. I remember. I think he's in Barry, the series Barry on HBO. He's been on a number of different.
The guy's name is Stephen Root, and he was in Office Space. He was the guy who had the stapler. Where's my stapler? He was like, I've got my stapler. I'm gonna, as long as they can let me keep my stapler. That's the guy.
I believe you have my stapler.
And then he showed up in Dodgeball. Remember, he was in Dodgeball with Vince Vaughn and those other guys or whatever.
Right,
so
right.
He just shows up in Radio City or something. He's a cool actor, and he's the watermonger, and it was great to see him.
Yeah, he comes rolling in there, and he's clearly got his agenda. And as we find out later, is trying to essentially manipulate Boba Fett to do his dirty work, right? But I like that scene where he's just kind of like, sorting things out and trying to get Boba Fett to act on his behalf there. And you got these gangs who are raiding my stock, and they're doing this as a disrespect to you. I'm only trying to protect you. This whole thing. I thought that was great. What'd you think of that, Tony?
That was just, I mean, that it gave me like this very kind of Judge Judy vibe of Boba Fett at that particular moment. Like his BS meter was just, and he reminded me of what do we call him? Customer service guy.
Yeah, the mayor, the mayor's mayor dojo.
Yes, exactly. This very much that sort of. It's not for me. This is disrespecting you. But if you do this for me, I will make sure that I put the word out for you to help you.
Yeah, and I think here we are with this continuous reinforcement of the idea of respect, right? And he opened up with "No one respects you."
Yes.
Right? Like, what an entry! What a way to make a first impression. And if you know that Boba Fett wants to rule based on respect, that's kind of the right approach. You know what I mean? You're pressing the right buttons.
But in the very first episode, he was told when he said he wanted to rule with respect, not fear. And she said, more or less, when in Rome, perhaps it's best to go with that. And it's
that's right.
They keep trying to push that custom on him that, if you'll just kill people because this leader says so or this person says so, you'll get more respect out of that. They'll fear you and respect you.
Right. So he has this meeting with the watermonger, and now he realizes, okay, I got to go look into this. I got to check this out. And I don't know what you guys are feeling, but he needs some sort of transportation, man. It's not a litter, but bro, like that scene takes place assuming at the beginning of his day. By the time he confronts the gang in the city, it's dark. It's pitch black out. It's taken him all day to make it into the city and find these guys. Like, where is his speeder bike? Like, he should be rolling up in like a Harley or something. You know what I mean?
That's what the end of the episode with Danny Trujillo.
Danny Trejo. Yeah, that was cool.
That's his ride.
Yeah, well, definitely. We'll get to that. Okay, so he finally makes it to the workers' district. We got this scene with the mod gang. I love this scene. I think in some ways it's my favorite scene of the whole movie, where he confronts the mod gang, these kids who are all, modifying themselves with robot parts. And, he basically has an opportunity to regulate for the first time. Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts on that scene were, Curtis.
Well, I thought it was interesting because Stephen Root, the watermonger, alluded to they alter their bodies with mechanical parts so they can be more agile or whatever, which I enjoyed. But you've got to go back and watch that scene a couple of times because the leader, the female, she's got like a different arm. That guy's got the eye. There's another guy with an eye. I mean, there's like a couple of things going on in there. And they're basically like, we don't care. They are the, pardon my French, they're the millennials of this episode. They're like, I don't care about anything. This is what I'm doing. So when Boba Fett shows up, she's just like mouthing off. And he's like, watch your tongue. And she's like, I know who you are and I don't care. And that's when he said, that's why I want you. So if you can fight as well as you speak, come work for me. So I thought that scene was great. He paid their debt, like, hey, I'm paying your debt. You don't have to steal that. You don't have to hide from this guy anymore. You work for me. And so that was cool that and there's like five or seven of those kids that he picked up. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, we see the beginning of a little bit of an entourage here,
which we've talked about in previous episodes. We've always said, when is he going to get his entourage or his menagerie of people? Maybe this is the beginning. I don't know.
If you're gonna add some, I look at these kids more like Gen Z than I do millennials for sure. Like these kids are the video game generation, and these kids are like, they're hacking themselves. They're like doing biohackery. Like this is, they look corny to the Gen Xers in the building. They look a little corny and a little off. Particularly their bikes. I was not impressed with the bikes. Like, to me,
we can talk about the bikes.
The bikes.
Yeah, we need to talk about the bikes separately. That was not good for me, but we'll talk about that later.
It looked like bumper cars to me, like I don't know. But I do love this whole vibe of now getting to see what Boba Fett means when he says ruling by respect. And he immediately earns the respect of that crew. And they start off hostile to him. And by the end of the scene, they're willing to work for him and go back with him and do whatever he wants them to do. And he turned that whole thing around. And how did he do it? Through justice. He listened to what they were saying. He saw through the manipulation of the watermonger. And he realized, you know what? These are good kids who are looking for something to do. I'm going to put them to work. And, as a teacher, I really love that scene because, those are the troublemakers in the school. And in 20 seconds, this guy got them on his side through, respect. And I thought that was a great, evidence of Boba Fett's way of how he's going to approach how he rules in Tatooine. So he's got a little bit of a crew. What did you think, Gabriel? Did you like these guys?
I thought I enjoyed how he now has people on his side, but they didn't feel like they were from Star Wars to me, kind of, as they felt more like they were from like this new PS5 game that's called like Cyberpunk. They like didn't really feel like they were from this universe, and their bikes.
I mean, that's legitimate. I feel that, but I also feel like we have to be open as fans to accept some of these broader ideas and characters that we might not say, oh, they don't fit in traditionally, but I'm trying to give them some time. I don't want to judge prematurely. They weren't what I expected for sure, but I don't want to judge prematurely. I'm going to give it a couple more episodes to see how it develops.
I will also side with Gabriel and say these guys, the world is very dirty. It's a desert area. There's a lot of dust. Like it's kind of like a grit and grimy kind of an area. And then these guys show up in like these very primitive or very primal colors like Dick Tracy, red and yellow. There's chrome, there's color. And so to Gabriel's point, I'm like, do they fit in to this? Because everything else is very opaque, very tan and dark. I don't know. So maybe there's something to it.
What does the younger generation try to do immediately to set themselves apart and make themselves different? You know what I mean?
Point.
They create.
That's a good point.
They create a world where they stand out, and to me, these guys definitely stand out on Tatooine. Okay, let's move back to tank.
Oh my
gosh! After walking all the way to the workers' district and back to the palace, Boba's got to jump back in the tank. And we see this great repeat of the vision, right, from the vision quest that he had in episode 2. We see that same scene where he's watching his dad fly away in Slave 1, right? And we you start to feel a little bit, having seen that scene for the second time. I'm thinking to myself, man, this is a kid. This is like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid who's living on this planet with 0 playmates. He's in a room by himself, and there goes dad, gone to who knows where. A very kind of lonely sort of childhood for this cat, right?
Yeah.
Tony, did you think about that at all, or am I off base there?
I don't know. I actually kind of picture he and Boba and Jango having sort of being the lords of the castle, if you will, to the Kaminoans. I mean, that's who they picked, and they can come and go as they please. And I don't know, even through, and Gabriel, correct me if I'm wrong, even in the whole Clone Wars section, Boba never really goes with any of the clones, right? And kind of hangs out with them. At least I don't remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's very much a loner.
Yeah, you can imagine that he would see them, but I think that he feels like he's better than they are, because he's different. He's not being accelerated. He's learning from his dad. So it definitely very, very lonely way, to grow up. But you're also looking at that like the complete, my dad is my superhero.
Oh no.
Just when we were really cruising along.
Well, we can't talk about Darren anymore because Darren's here now. So
my aim was to come in late, interrupt your flow, and tank the whole thing. How am I doing so far?
Mission accomplished.
Aces, baby. Aces, baby.
And he's having these revisions, and then we go back into a nice extended flashback of his life as a Tusken Raider and life with the Tuskens. And that starts off with him in his full Tusken regalia on the back of a bantha riding into Mos Eisley, right?
Yes.
And as he's riding across the dunes in this long, extended, sweeping visuals, drone shots, we see him going through there, and he's got his gaffy, and he's got his rifle, and he rides into town, and I'm thinking, where the hell are the speeder bikes? Am I the only one?
It's taken like 6 hours for this guy to go across town.
Correct. Like, okay, you it's one thing if you have to ride the bantha, but at this point you have speeder bikes. You just use them. Like, to me, that was a little bit, just for the sake of, but it also kind of adds to Boba's vibe, and it goes back to what we just talked about, him taking these really long foot journeys, like walking into town and then walking all the way back to the palace. And now he's got a speeder, but he's taking the bantha 6 hours into town and taking it 6 hours. There's kind of an intentional vibe about that. Am I wrong?
The journey. This definitely is one of those. The episode so far, this is very much about the journey, not the destination at this point.
So he comes rolling into town on the bantha, and we see this really cool throwback to a scene from The Mandalorian where you got these stormtrooper heads or the helmets on pikes as he's rolling in. And I don't know if you guys caught this or not, in the background as he's riding through, behind the helmeted the pikes with the helmets,
Yes.
the character from Mandalorian, the garage keeper, the woman, what's her name, Gabriel?
Pelimato.
Yeah, that she's am I wrong? She's walking back there, right?
Yeah.
And she's got the reason I knew it was her because there was a couple of those like weird droids, collapsible droids.
Pitroids.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought that was a nice little homage to, all of these little details to tie the series together, The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. So
I think Darren calls that world building when you start to bring in characters from other movies, right? Is that right, Darren? You call that world building when they put that together?
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I mean, it's
world connecting.
World connecting. Yeah, it's like, I mean, the world's already built. I like these sort of throwbacks to other things you've seen. It sort of makes it all feel more like one universe. Although I completely missed that.
Yeah, I saw it the second time. I'm like really looking for details. And, I remember the pikes, the stormtroopers on the pikes the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And then I went back to take a picture of that to add it on his back. And I'm like, wait, who? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
And I love that character from Mandalorian. That character, she was great. She was so salty, it's just a perfect character. So he rides into town. We see some throwbacks to The Mandalorian. And now he's in, the world of the Pikes. And he walks into that tent. We've got whoever the local syndicate jefe is. And he's got that little meeting with the Pikes. Any thoughts on that, Darren?
No, in fact, this is so weird. I don't know what was happening with me during that scene, but I'm watching the visual now and going, I have no idea at all what was happening.
Okay.
Even though I'm watching it.
Fair enough.
So I don't
love
know
your
if
honesty.
I went to the bathroom.
So glad you could join us today, Darren.
We appreciate your input. If you're watching the episode while we're discussing the episode, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want.
I could go over like the weather forecast in upstate New York if you want. I know all about that.
You know what? We're not interested in you cramming for 5 minutes before the review and then coming on here. Just
I love it. I love it.
Tony, I'm going to kick the Pike question to you. He comes in here. There's obviously some miscommunication about what's going on in terms of who pays who. What were your thoughts on that scene?
Again, that the who eats who political climate, that from the back to the front, just kind of seeing that, just internal corruption running through. You figure, all right, he's got the Pikes by the, I don't know what you call them, that particular point.
Throat.
Yes,
that's what you were going to say, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's got, but he's got the Pikes right where he wants them, and it's like you're gonna pay tribute, and and then, well, no, we're already paying tribute. It goes back to, again, Darren called it the customer service guy, that walks in the first episode with the, I'm sorry that you took it that way, but, and just kind of, so seeing that Tatooine, this isn't like a new thing for Boba to have to deal with, as the new, the new Hut, basically. He doesn't have to, this is not his first time having to deal with the corruption in the corruption in the corruption.
And he knows exactly who it is that he's dealing with. It's the same motorcycle gang that he failed to end. He should have just done those guys in the first time he met them. He wouldn't be dealing with them again. But these guys are clearly, working in the background. And, they got their little symbols and so forth. Obviously, they've got new speeder bikes, and they're all causing chaos with his ability to try to collect money from the Pikes. So his last thing is, I'll take care of this. And back on the Bantha, another 6 hours back across the dunes. And as we saw the smoke in the distance, I don't know about you guys, but I knew exactly what was going to be there. And I thought, damn you for riding that bantha. If you had only ridden the speeder bike, you would have been back in time.
If Woody had gone straight to the police, this would have never have happened.
Listen,
Exactly.
Curtis, he jumps off the bantha and actually runs after he sees the smoke. That's going to be
Which is faster.
Yeah.
It's faster. So the bantha's on the back dune and he runs because he knows that running is faster
Yes.
than the bantha. And again, I can't blame him. I don't know where the speeder bikes are. I get it. But
Well,
then
one of those-
we know where they're not. The gang's
Yeah.
probably got them back now.
It's a problem with form over function, right? Because you're like, it's a beautiful idea, this sort of just drudgery of these long journeys, these long distances between people, and from the bureaucracy to the
here
travel.
he goes.
This sort
Here
of
he
monotonous
goes. It's
pace.
better just here he goes. Just let him finish. Go ahead, Aaron. It's
I mean, I
fine.
love the aesthetic of it, but when you're sitting there going, no, you have a means of transportation, then it's just not
Yes.
working for me all the way through.
Yes. But
Right.
I do like
You
that.
don't
I
have
do
a
like-
you don't have a Disney monorail pass. You don't have a monorail pass from Disney that can't get you from Epcot back to the Polynesian. I mean, come on. Come on.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
wrong with these? What's wrong with these sand people? Okay.
I, in present day Earth, have better transportation than anybody in this universe.
I could ride my dog faster than that bantha's gonna ride. I don't know if there was anyone that wasn't disappointed, because of, like, to Tony's point in the last review, how attached we became to these sand people to now walk up through that village, everything burned up, and that scene where Fett's throwing the bodies onto the pile, and he puts the child's stick. The child that beat him with the stick is the last thing he puts onto the fire. Do we notice anything missing from the scene? Anyone missing from the scene?
Yes. So
Tony, who's missing?
The who we are assuming may have ended up turning out to be his assassin friend. She is gone. She and the child. I don't remember seeing either one of them.
We did see the child's stick, so I don't know whether that's just symbolic of.
He had the kid's gaffy with him though, but he pulled that out of his robe.
Okay, I thought
So-
the last thing he put on the fire was the stick.
Right,
that
but
the
he
kid was
pulled
using.
that out of another kind of like the special.
Oh, I see. Okay, see.
So she's missing, and the child is missing. Those are the two. I don't remember. I don't remember the shot seeing the child at all, but she is definitely missing.
Yes.
When I was watching it, so I had that brain hiccup where I had a temporary Alzheimer's or something, and I was gone. And then this is where I was back. So I don't know if I missed something, but for me, that scene felt unearned. Like, because it was just so sudden, it was just, well, now he's there and now they're all dead. Let's get on to the next thing. Taking that moment and taking that time to grieve just didn't do anything for me, because there was nothing ramping up to them dying or how I just didn't, it just sort of, okay, we're in the middle of an episode, now he shows up, they're all dead. Now let's get on to the next thing.
Anybody with a counterpoint?
Gabriel?
no, not really.
I just don't. I don't know where it's going.
Well, but you saw that. I mean, the time to grieve and all of that. Absolutely. You felt like once he realized that this speeder bike gang was, who was in charge, and then he came back. I mean, you having that moment again, they gave you a moment in the last episode, 3/4 of the last episode to root for these Tusken Raiders.
And I was, but the reason why that didn't really hit me is because, again, I was expecting that to happen. That
But
was something that
Oh, yes.
But
Yeah.
Yes.
so I
again-
was ready for it and was just like, okay.
we go back to what we talked about from the last episode. There was a whole kind of Native American turn into that last episode. And this is again continuing that arc into the Native American world. You have this warrior from a local, for our universe would be the Native American person. For theirs, it's the Tuscan. And they go on this journey. They go to the civilized world. And when they come back, the civilized world didn't just visit. It didn't just take over. It demolished everything. Absolutely, men, women, children just destroyed, just for the sake of destroying and putting their mark on that land for that point.
Yes.
Bury my heart at Wounded Knee, man. It
But-
did
but
have kind of
here's-
a Wounded Knee vibe.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing. I'm with Gabriel on this, and I'll tell you why. Because I agree with everything you just said, Tony. But for me, that's why it didn't work. Because essentially you've set up these, what we're going to call the Native American stand-ins, right? And then you've got Boba, who is our white cowboy savior stand-in. And so what you've got is, hey, look at these Tuscan Raiders. They're real people. They have culture. They love each other. They care for each other. They have a community. They have all of this stuff. And then let's just kill them off screen. Not important. They're all dead now. And let's get back to the cowboy. Because what's really important is him. And I'm okay with that to some degree. It is his story. It's just that we are, in a sense, whitewashing history, which is exactly what we've done with the US history, where you've got, look at these wonderful native peoples living in this country, and then Christopher Columbus and cowboys. It's like, wait, what happened to them? It's not important. They're all dead now. And I sort of felt like we repeated that instead of earning that part of the story by honoring how they died. And maybe we're going to get that in a future episode, but right now it didn't do it for me.
I love it. I think that's a great discussion about that particular part of the movie. And let's park that where it is and see if maybe we come back. I don't know if there's going to be other Tuscans that are going to rally. It seems like maybe that's the end of that. I was looking forward to potentially seeing them work into the political climate and be used in creative ways. I didn't like the fact that they were now just annihilated. And now that I'm listening to the argument, I also don't like the fact that it was done like so hastily, like that it was just sort of like, but at the same time, this is the book of Boba Fett and not the book of the history of the Tuscan Raiders.
Yes.
So we do have to kind of move on with the Cowboys story.
All right, fair
Correct.
enough.
Nor is it the book of Darren. We have to focus on the fact that it's not the book of Darren, which he always feels like it is. So,
All right.
My bad. I was on the Book of Darren stream. I'm sorry.
Let's get
nobody wants to read that. Nobody wants to read the book.
let's get back to the back to tank. And here we are. We had this probably the quickest flashback that we've had of the 3 episodes. We're now starting to transition into actual life for Boba in modern Tatooine, and he is rudely interrupted from his backstory by Tony. Say something so we can see him. We got Black Chrysanthem coming on the scene, ripping him out of the back to tank and kicking major butt. Let's talk about the battle between Boba and Black Chrysanthem, if we can even call it a battle. Curtis, you want to jump in?
Oh my gosh, it was so awesome. He just Black Chrysanthem just opens up the tank, the water spills out, he grabs him, pulls him out, and he kicks his butt. I mean, and the way that they filmed it was amazing, and they're throwing punches, and he activated those knuckles. Darren had brought up the brass knuckles last time we had talked about it. He's just kicking butt, but then his
I think that was Gabriel.
gang shows it. Okay, yeah. So his gang shows up, and then the Gamorrean guards show up. I mean, everybody has to show up to subdue this guy. It was awesome. I was on the edge of my seat. I thought it was a great segment of the episode.
One of the cool things about it is I don't think anyone expected Boba in his, back to tank gear to be any match for Black Chrysanthem. So in some ways it wasn't really a fair fight, right? We're not actually seeing Boba Fett in his gear. He went for his gear at one point and, actually started to put up a bit of a fight when he got to his gaffy. He got that strike in on his back, but he was getting ragdolled. He was getting ragdolled left and right in this fight. Thank God he hired those kids, because they really came in and sort of saved the day, right? They came in and circled around him, and we got a chance to see some of their cool toys. Gabriel, what did you like? Which one of those Gen Z motorcycle gang guys do you like the best in terms of their capabilities?
I like the guy who only has the one eye and his other eye is like robotic. But
You're talking about the black guy with the
yes. Him.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. But in terms of like fighting, and the one guy, one of them had like a laser knife or something that came out of her. So we got to see a chance to see some of these things. And then the Gamorrean guards come up the stairs, and Black Chrysanthem decides, you know what, these are the real threat. And just bum rushes them down the stairs.
Oh my gosh, that was so crazy. He's like, we're going down. Here we go.
I did think in terms of production wise and directing, that was the clunkiest and most ridiculous part of the fight, because the person who was in the Black Chrysanthem costume as the stunt person that went rolling down with the Gamorrean guards in the second part of that was shorter than the Gamorrean guards. and then they shoot to another scene where Black Chrysanthem is like 2 heads taller than the Gamorrean guards. So that was a little clunky. And the CGI of them rolling down the stairs was a little clunky. But I love the idea of him just taking out the biggest threat in the fight. Okay, these kids are kids. But I can handle them.
What I like?
Guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you know what I'd like? And then I'd like Tony to weigh in on this point. I like the way that they fell down the stairs and then they end up in the throne room, which kind of helps us understand where Boba Fett lives in the back to tank in relation to the throne room. So then, Tony, did you know where they were in relation to the throne room, and like how the palace is laid out? Because that's the first time I saw it.
I kind of had an idea from, I believe it or not, one of the childhood toys that I had. There was a toy at one point that actually had, you had just the regular Jabba, like his, the rolling piece that he sat on. But then there was another one that had an actual kind of a cutout of there, and it was, more or less his bedroom. But it's different than, because it's kind of like a multi-level sort of, if you take it, which is why it was weird that they ended up right there, because there's a hallway theoretically that comes towards those stairs. In Return of the Jedi, they come down those same stairs. When Luke comes in, when everybody comes in, they come down those stairs. When they bring Chewie in, he comes down those stairs. So there's a hallway that leads to the other parts of there, and then it goes up from there to the room.
So this is all great if we want to do like lifestyles of the rich and famous Tatooine. I'm sorry, guys. We were talking about the Black Chrysanthem fight a second ago, and now Curtis has got us talking about real estate prices. Like,
it's important to me. What's important to me should be important to you. I don't know. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yes. Now we know where the back to tank is in relation to the throne room, and let's get back to the fight. So Black Chrysanthem surrounded by the one Gamorrean guard, he completely wrecks that guy. He's done. I was shocked that he stood up after the fight, but he had to go, take him to my back to tank.
He's the guy that got
what's that?
Bit in the neck.
Yes, that's
which
right.
I love that moment, because there's a lot of teeth, a lot of creatures with massive teeth in the Star Wars universe. but you rarely see them using them as offensive weapons. I've seen them use them to eat stuff, but the idea of a character saying, yeah, well, I've got fangs, I'm just going to bite this guy in the neck.
Well, he bit Boba in the hand first, right? He bit Boba in the hand, so this guy is not afraid to use those teeth.
Yeah.
And so he finally makes the error of standing in the wrong place in the throne room. Who knows if he doesn't end up, I think Boba would have had to put his full setup on to try to come down and deal with this guy, because if he doesn't stand in the wrong place and have Fennec send him down into the Rancor pit, I don't know. I like his chances of breaking through this crew. He was tough. He was good.
And that was something actually that like kind of made me a bit disappointed about that is because Boba Fett coming out in his like in like basically bathrobes didn't really feel like Boba Fett. I feel like he would have came out full armor, ready to go, and like that just didn't really feel like Boba Fett to me.
Well, he certainly had confidence in his crew. You're right. When he came walking down the stairs in his bathrobe, I was like, at least have the flamethrower or something on your arms. Like, you went to the Sidewinder missiles a second ago, but now you're coming downstairs all set,
I was expecting him to start yelling, "You kids need to keep it down. I'm just trying to sleep up there."
Yeah, Uncle Joe, while we're shooting living room golf.
Nothing like the rage of an old man in a gown.
Exactly. So, okay, so Black Chrysanthem's down into the dungeon, Fennec with the little razor to finish him off as he's holding himself on the
Oh, come on. Don't even start with that. A knife in my, come on.
But axe throwing is so it's so hot these days. He's got her little.
I guess. Anyway, go ahead.
So he's out of the picture. He's down in the dungeon. What are we going to do with this guy? We got no Rancor to eat him. So
wait, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Did anyone think, I wonder if there's going to be a Rancor down there now, and then there's going to be some story of how that happened? Because we were set up in the last episode, right, that there's no Rancor, so then he drops down there and there is.
Tony,
I thought there might be.
Tony, what were you saying?
I once again, they got me. You drop somebody down in there, and I'm thinking, all right, surely after dropping the last one down there with no Rancor, there's something. They went out and did something.
Now let me go to the next logical step. In your mind, did you think to yourself, I'm going to get to see Black Chrysanthemum fight a Rancor?
Well, no, I thought that, again, it was, I still believe Black Chrysanthemum is 100% going to join Boba's crew. I said that the first time we met him, and I still think that's going to be.
Well, I think it's hard to deny after this episode, right?
But I did have hopes.
Definitely.
And that somebody went down, it opened up, and there was some terrifying creature that he was going to have to deal with.
Okay, so Black Chrysanthemum's out of the picture. Next scene, we're in some weird feasting room with this table full of like ridiculous amount of like a feast worthy of Denethor from Return of the King. I was like that feast just was ridiculous. There's two people sitting there with their feet up on the table, like trying to eat through all this stuff. I don't know. That was a little weird to me, that scene with the whole feast laid out. It didn't fit in my mind.
It was too big of a jump forwards in the timeline, right?
Yeah, what? First of all, who's preparing all this food, and for who? It just didn't make sense.
Well, and of course, it was like we're struggling. There's only a handful of people in the castle, right? And now we have this gluttonous table in front of us. I'm thinking, how does that happen? Like, where does this food come from?
Yeah, it was.
And then Boba's finally like, yeah, it was just a lot. I would have been better if it was.
Sorry,
go ahead, Darren.
No, you finish.
Oh no, please. The point is, I didn't like it. He was sending the droids away. I mean, it could have been cooler if it was just like a bottle of wine and some cheese, and we were like, what are we going to do next? And then of course the twins show up after that, but
Yeah.
it would have been cooler if it was smaller.
You could
Darren,
have
go.
placed that scene in the first episode where, like, the idea being we just took over this place. There's only 2 of us here, but the droids, the staff, are all still cooking food for Boba and his entire entourage.
Oh,
We have to wait
yes.
them away. That would have been a little funny moment to demonstrate how we are now empty. It just feels like too late in the season to now be showing
Yeah.
that.
I know it's.
Yeah,
I know
so
it's.
the structure is still in place. The functionality of the food and the droids, it's still happening. Yeah.
I
That's a good point.
completely agree with that, Darren. I think that's a great point. Of all the things in all the episodes, to me, and I know this is a minor thing, but it bothered me the most of anything else that we've done. That they've
No
shown.
doubt.
Didn't make sense.
Really?
It was just bothersome. I kept coming back to it in my mind. It was just stupid. But anyway, we get the twins. The twins are outside rolling in the bent ass litter, and no drums this time, even nothing. It's just them on the litter. No black chrysanthemum. They're just out and exposed. Little fan, sweat guinea. All the accoutrements of the twins. Yes, and so they come rolling up, and we get the gift. The gift, Gabriel.
The gift. I was actually more shocked to see Sir Danny Trejo than the Rancor.
I absolutely love that Danny Trejo was in this episode, and it looks like it's going to be a part of the series ongoing.
Yep.
That cat is one of my favorites. I don't know how much you guys know about him, but he is awesome, and he's done a ton of charitable work. The guy's just led an amazing life. He actually just had a book released recently about his life. He's great. We've seen him in a million different things through his career.
But the guy's been around for a while. He and the director have worked together a long time. So when he showed up as the Rancor keeper, thank you. And when he showed up as the Rancor keeper and he was talking about the Rancor, I just thought it was great. So anyway, back on track, Mike.
Really looking forward to seeing more Danny Trejo as the episodes continue. We get a couple little tidbits here. First of all, we get the release of Black Chrysanthemum. I thought, once again, another great gesture of respect from Boba Fett, which will, even though Black Chrysanthemum, we just see his hairy body just run off into the dunes when he's released.
What's that?
Where is he going?
What is that? I don't know.
Just runs
Weird.
off into the distance. And, maybe he needs a drink. I don't know. He was out of there, but I think we're going to see him again for sure. And then we also saw the twins giving the piece of information that is pivotal to the rest of the episode, right? That the another syndicate has been working with the mayor, and hey, we're out of here because we don't want a war, and if you're smart, you'll do so too. And at that point, was anybody on to the fact that might have been the Pikes that he was talking about?
Possibly, yeah.
I wasn't on. I didn't know what, I wasn't sure who he might be talking about. We find out as the episode goes along that he's indeed talking about the Pikes. But let's get to the gift coming into the palace and into the Rancor room. And we get this great scene of, what we talked about earlier in the episodes. And, are we going to see a Rancor before this series is over? And here it is. We got a Rancor in the Rancor keeper's room. And Danny Trejo, perfect performance here. I thought him and the Fett character, what's his name again?
Tamora Morrison.
Yes, Tamura. They did a great job in that scene. And I loved what I really loved about that scene is, and this is one of the things that I love about this series, we're seeing a lot less of the CGI world and a lot more of the actual puppets, right? That Rancor was real. It's a real, machine or puppet. Like they're interacting with it physically. And even though it's not jumping up and moving around, just the eyes opening and, to get back to that sort of realistic. I know the huts are fake. The huts are CGI'd, but this Rancor was 100% real. And I really liked that. What did you guys think?
I think, Mike, the whole Rancor thing also goes back to this theme that they keep coming back with about the respect. Clearly, Jabba had a Rancor, but even though there was a Rancor keeper, this one was angry, and the minute something fell down, it was Pavlovian. Something gets knocked down in there, and this thing comes out raging, and this is when I get to eat, is when something comes in. And then to hear Danny Trejo talking about, no, they're actually pretty peaceful, they're and just this, Gabriel and I know from the history with the Night Sisters and so on, that they rode them, that's part of their tactic, and they domesticated them, if you will, in that way, and they were able to to interact with them. And he decides immediately, I'm going to ride it, because that was a thing. And secondarily, he doesn't want to go at this Rancor again with the fear and this, I want you to just kill anything that I drop down in there, because I'm starving you to do that. This is, you're now one of us with the Rancor. Because
and I think he legitimately feels a little bit of empathy there when Trejo says he's depressed. He's alone, he's young, similar to Boba with the hand, and there goes Dad, and maybe he's feeling a little bit of a bond with this.
Symbolic, yeah.
Mike, you are a genius.
This is his spirit animal, man. This is his spirit animal. He's like gonna bond with this thing and ride it. He's not only gonna ride it, man. They're gonna do battle together. We're gonna see some badass Boba on Rancor stuff before the series is over, for sure. And it's just a pup now, right? So it patterns to him like it's just, and he's like, when he first says I'm gonna ride it, Trejo's like,
I don't think so.
They are friendly, but I'm not so sure.
I want to learn to ride this one. I've ridden beast 10 times its size.
And Boba's like, I've ridden beast 10 times its size. And I'm thinking, you better not be talking about a bantha, because this is not a bantha.
No, that is not what he's.
Well, what beasts has he ridden that are 10 times the size of that, other than a bantha?
What a lot of people speculated is that he's referring to actually the first time that we ever see him in the 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special. He rides a huge beast known as the Mythosaur, which actually could be what he is referring to.
Okay, a Mythosaur. All right, I was thinking he was talking to bantha. Was the Mythosaur have teeth?
It's like a big purple dinosaur thing.
Okay, all right. Barney. He rode Barney before. Got it.
Yeah, but you know how big Barney is compared to come on.
He rode Barney.
Yeah, Barney is actually bigger than you would think, because what people don't realize when they shot that is all the children in those Barney episodes were actually 22 feet tall giants.
Somebody shut him up.
We are completely off the rails. Okay. So
I don't want to talk about this.
So
all right, whatever.
It's not a Barney episode. It's a Boba Fett episode. You're on the wrong channel, Darren. You're on the wrong channel.
I love it. Listen, Darren, if you want to call later and talk Barney, we can talk as long as you want.
For me, I just think when you're brushing your teeth and having so much fun, you never let the water run.
Okay.
Mute.
Barney song.
Okay. So
that may be how they do it in the United Kingdom, but that's not how we do it here.
So we roll into town, right? Because now we got to deal with what the Hutts just said, that Mok Shaiz is playing behind the back and has got this other syndicate coming into town, and Boba's got to figure out what this is all about. And now it's not just Boba and Fennec. It's not just Boba and Fennec and 2 Gamorrean guards, but it's Boba, Fennec, the Gamorrean guards, the full entourage of the Gen Zers. We're in there with the motorcycle gang. They're all rolling up with the Mok Shaiz. They go in, clipboard guys there, and so is the mayor's major dojo. He tries to delay, jumps into the back room, locks the door. They're like, oh, he locked the door. And like Fett does in that moment, what every single one of us has done in an elevator, even after someone's already pressed the button. He goes over and just keeps pressing the button. Of course.
Yeah.
Maybe if I just hit it a few more times, it'll work. And then Fennec, kind of pushes him out of the way. Excuse me, sir. How'd she get that door open, Gabriel?
She probably used a stomp link, I'm guessing.
I think she just used a screwdriver. She just rips the thing open, shorts it out, and there goes the door.
Yeah.
If we look at the arc of doors in the sci-fi universe, in the Star Wars universe, so many different ways you can open and close these doors. But I thought that was a good one. Like just screwdriver, rip, short, boom, here comes the door, and they're gone. And then we get into the climax of the episode, which is this great speeder chase. Curtis, talk to me about this chase between the Tony, you want to speak about it first?
We were going to read Matt's thoughts on this first and then have them go.
You know what? I'm going to save Matt's thoughts because it was also his fetish.
I see.
Oh, nice.
I want to see what their thoughts are, and then we'll talk about what
I thought. And again, I view the Book of Boba Fett as a toy box, and we're pulling Boba Fett out, and we're pulling the Rancor monster out, and we're pulling these guys out and being like, oh yeah, we're all going to ride these monsters and have a great time. And the G.I. Joes, as I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, they're going to be involved and everyone's having a good time. When the scooter guys showed up, I just feel like they're very clean. They're very pretty. They're in primary colors. And now we're riding, and this world is very dirty and dark and dusty.
Yeah, it was out of place.
It was out of place. Way to go, Gabriel. It was just out of place to me, but that's me. And the chase itself did not, after we had seen the train scene, the overtake train scene last episode, this episode did not hold its own, I felt. So
Yeah.
Is it
somebody
perhaps-
else go.
Is it the fact that the chase was conducted at the speed of a brisk walk?
Exactly.
That could have lowered the stakes a little.
Well, listen, look,
yeah.
they're riding around in bumper cars, Darren. What do you expect? This is not this can't be a high-speed thing.
Something else that I kind of had an issue with is that at the end we see Boba Fett land in his jetpack, and I'm thinking, why didn't he just like fly over him and like shoot like a missile into his speeder and like shut him down right there? Where was
Gabriel?
Fett?
He's got to see the capabilities of his crew. He can't just go and deal with all the dirty work himself. He's got to see.
They were driving they were driving at like 25 miles per hour. and
Well, listen, before we cut the whole scene to ribbons, let's talk about some of the positive things about it. I like
no positives.
God forbid. Come on, guys. Like, again, remember, these are young kids and they're trying to stand out on I do agree that the pace of the whole thing is bad, and I blame that on Danny Rodriguez. That's bad direction. The way the whole feel of the speed of the thing was going, it just wasn't appropriate.
It felt like they were using leftover props from Spy Kids.
It
didn't
didn't work.
But I feel like they missed it, but I liked the idea that you're saying what does youth culture look like in this world, and youth culture is always going to rebel. And I mean, aesthetically it harkened back to the hot rods of the 1950s and those sorts of colors, which was the rise of like the first go around of real youth culture in America was in
nobody liked what rock and roll looked like when it first came on the scene, but the kids did. And so here we got them, but again, the pace was off, but it's still not a bad sequence in terms of what's going on. It almost had a Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe with everything rocking behind and falling and, all this just crashing through everything as the truck is going through the small town, in the desert. And so he's making a mess of everything. They're following and chasing. and the capabilities of the kids. We get to see that the black guy with the telescopic eye has also got a hydraulic foot with a spike on the heel.
Yeah.
Did you see that? It was like it was going on its own motor. It had like a back and forth. I guess what are you going to use that to other than just try to stop a speeder, like kick somebody in the chest with that? Could you imagine? Jeez, it's a violent weapon.
The position, you'd have to do a handstand
Right?
and then kick them with your heel on
Yeah,
in the air.
or a flying drop kick that goes, you know, like a drill kick. But
Where was that weapon against Chrysanthem?
exactly, you know, kick
Yeah.
Chrysanthem with that thing. And then the other guy that pulled up on the other side, the guy in the lab coat or the long trench coat, he had sort of an under the sleeve, up the sleeve blowtorch thing that he cut the other speeder open with. And then he goes flying. And one of the things that Matt pointed out that I didn't catch the first time was he goes flying through a picture that the guys are walking into the bar with. And it's a picture of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And the entourage of Jabba in the, you know, the palace.
Yes.
From Return of the Jedi. He goes flying
Right.
through there. And I'm thinking,
Was
you know,
Boba in that picture? I didn't know
yes,
that Boba
Boba's
was
in
in
the
that
picture.
Yeah.
Boba's in that picture, which, you know, is interesting because, like, if someone's hanging that up in their bar, they're still paying homage to Jabba the Hutt in the good old days, you know. And I thought that was kind of a little dig, you know, that
I love it.
this is
I
the kind of
love
artwork that's circulating through Mos Espa. Remember the days when we didn't have these motorcycle gangs riding
Back
around
in
in
the
bumper
days.
cars? So they finally get the climactic scene where the girl who seems to be the leader of the gang flies up the stairs, lands on the back of the speeder, spirals him out of control. Darren, you were going to say something?
Well, there was that moment with the R2 unit and the C3PO looking
yes.
copy, and they appeared right next to each other. Does
Yes.
anyone know anything about that?
I saw that too. It was just they showed a C3PO unit and an R2 unit in succession as part of that chase. I thought that was a nice little homage.
What
to the
was
original.
it? I missed it, but didn't he say R2, where are you? Or am I?
I don't know. I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that.
We'll have to go back. That's one to look
Maybe I
back.
imagined it because I was very confused.
R2, where are you? So speeder bike, or the guy's speeder. What is that character's name? So I don't have to keep referring to him as the guy. We gotta give him a name. What's his name? What are we naming that guy? Huh?
Well,
Customer service guy.
Customer service guy is what
Customer
we're
service guy.
This guy.
Customer service guy goes spiraling out of control. And one of the things that I agree with Matt, that Matt talked about this scene was, and I thought it as I was watching it, this is so Back to the Future with the
Right.
race between the hoverboard and Biff and his boys in the
Yeah.
car, and they're
Yeah.
racing around
Yeah.
town. And how does it end? It ends with him the Biff and them crashing into the back of the truck, and the manure comes down. And this was almost like an homage to Back to the Future. He runs into the fruit cart, and the fruit all comes pouring into
fruit
the car.
cart comes down. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was a great detail, but it really
That's
was
right.
kind of an 80s, you know. I don't know if they intentionally were paying an homage to it, but it was very Back to the Future, that little scene.
Yeah.
And Boba comes rolling in, right? What were you going to say, Tony?
I was going to say, well, you know, I mean, clearly there's a whole thing going on here. Boba rode Barney. The Teletubbies just pushed down customer service guy, and they ran into apples and bananas at the end of it. So, I mean, there's definitely a kid art going on in this one.
Such quality content we're bringing to you folks today.
Stay tuned for more next week.
So Boba comes rolling in and, you know, basically finds out from this, you know, customer service guy that it is indeed the Pikes who are the syndicate that Mok Shaiz is working with. And we end the episode with this glorious, like almost like a cruise liner, lots of people mover coming
Oh,
rolling
yeah.
to the spaceport
Yeah.
and emptying out and just seeing Pike after Pike after Pike. And then we get the really cool little Mos Espa public phone system. Did you like that? The little hologram phone, like a public phone. He
Yeah.
comes rolling up to it and, you know, now you got
Pretty
Boba with the hologram, and it's a interference. And, you know, it's like, I guess one of the cool things is, you can't have cell phones, right? Because George Lucas didn't think of
Didn't
cell
have one,
phones
right.
before cell
Well,
phones.
And that's funny to me because at this day and age, we have all this technology. I mean, I could pick up any of these devices and call somebody. But
Yeah.
now it's all like a it's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
We're
these people
fine.
are forever trapped in a distant future with no 5G.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. That's one of the most interesting things about the Star Wars aesthetic to me is this idea, that you're always in a throwback to what the 1970s thought the future would look like.
Absolutely.
And and of course, when we were watching Star Wars in the 1970s, it was like, this is really science fiction. Now it doesn't feel like science fiction anymore. Like I notice that more and I enjoy it. For me, I like this idea that, you know, somehow they've got all of this amazing technology, but they don't have iPhones, you know, like my phone is better than theirs.
Completely. And as we
Right.
continue to watch it in the decades to come, they're going to thank God they were way ahead of their time.
Yes.
Okay. So let's great episode. I loved it overall. I didn't like it as much as episode 2, only because the train race was hard to beat. The train takeover was hard to beat. This action sequence left a lot to be desired, but overall, as a continuous build of this episode, I like it. I blame a lot of the things I don't like on Danny Rodriguez. I didn't like his directing as much in episode 1 and episode 3 as I did like the directing of the female who did it in episode 2. I thought the direction of episode 2 was just superior. And one of the things that Favreau does is he brings in all these different directors. So I don't know if we're going to see Danny Rodriguez again, or if you're passing it off to someone for the next episode. Does anyone know who's directing episode 4?
I do not.
There should be a list somewhere online about it, but
If only we had some sort of device, a Star Wars like device where you could look up on this device.
all right,
Things
all right,
that-
wise guy. So let's
Right.
talk about fetishes. What were your favorite parts, and what are you looking forward to on the next episode? Let's start with Tony.
All right. You know what? I will say, as far as the 3 episodes, absolute least favorite so far. As far as it goes. Favorite part, Rancor, 100%. Danny, the Rancor, that part, that made the episode for me, as far as anything else goes. And what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to Boba and Chrysanthem joining up. Potentially Chrysanthem, maybe, depending on how that goes, maybe being brought back in with this new thing with the Pikes. He may even be part of the Pikes at this point and coming back through as a revisit, but something with that. And I want to see Boba riding a Rancor into Pike territory, riding that through Mos Espa,
Yeah.
and riding that into Pike territory. Like, what now?
Yes,
Street gangster ride on a Rancor.
nice. All right, Darren, what do you think? Fetishes, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, for fetishes, it's the Rancor and Danny Trejo. Like the one of my favorite parts of Jedi was the Rancor and the idea of this creature that is thoroughly evil. And the only reason that we have this sense of humanity is because of the Rancor owner shedding a tear. And it's such a tiny moment, but it spawned all of this lore. And so the idea of kind of honoring that backstory is great. I'll call them prophecies. My last time, my prophecies were that we were going to see a Rancor, which is now come true. I feel like we're a step closer to Black Chrysanthem teaming up. And then my other prophecy was that we were going to see the customer service guy become part of the entourage. So we're not there yet, but I feel like we're closer because he's now no longer with the mayor. So
Yes,
I'm going to be interested to see how that.
It's
works
just a matter of Boba deciding how useful this guy might be, or if at all.
Right.
What
He's just
about
such a
you,
great
Gabe?
character.
Yes. Yeah, it would be a shame to see him not continue on.
Yeah.
Gabriel, what do you think?
So my favorite part was that because we saw the spiked stormtrooper helmets in the flashbacks, I think that we now know what point we are in the Star Wars timeline, and that now in the flashbacks, we are just after the Battle of Endor. The second Death Star has been destroyed, and the galaxy has been liberated, if you will, from the Empire. And what I'm looking forward to is kind of like what Mr. Tony said, seeing Black Chrysanthem and Boba Fett teaming up and seeing some amazing Boba Fett on the back of a Rancor action scenes, just absolutely tearing through pipes.
Nice. Curtis.
All of the above. I like what Tony said. I like what Darren said. I think we're doing the backstory of the Rancor, which would be awesome. I'd love to see that. And that'd be great if we saw the Pikes. I don't want to say disassembled, but if we saw them not succeed, that would be awesome. So,
Okay,
we'll see what
for me, it was, I love the fact that he says at the end of the episode, the Fennec is like, oh, the Pikes, they're going to be ready for war. And he's like, then we shall be ready for them. I love that last line to end the episode. Like, okay, now we're going to gear up. And I'm curious as to how he's planning to do that. Obviously, the Rancor is going to be a part of it. And watching that Rancor sort of develop, I'm just worried that it's like, how fast does the thing grow? We need like a full-grown Rancor here.
Like now. The Rancor now.
Yeah, let's move this timeline up a little bit, like speed up the process. I also, for fetishes, my favorite scene of the episode, I stand by, is that opening scene where he deals with the watermonger and the gang of kids and pulls them into his service. I just thought, to me as a teacher, that's a great respect moment, and he turns these delinquents into assets. And I love that scene. Cool. Well, man, it'll only be a couple of days and we'll be watching episode 4.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Good.
This is great.
Nicely
Thank
done.
you guys so much. Oh, and for Matt's fetishes was the whole scene with this throwback to Back to the Future where they slam in and substitute fruit for the manure. That was his point, and I thought that was great. And he also loved the idea of Trejo and the Rancor, and he's looking forward to seeing that develop in the episodes to come. So hopefully next week we'll have Matt with us again, and maybe DJ, Darren's son, and we'll get him in on the mix too. But it's great talking to you guys, and I appreciate everybody who might be listening and watching. We had a lot of fun with the episode. I hope you did too, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Next time.
Bye.